After speaking to one of ACT's tactical advisors, I can reveal that Captain Castile's commando unit tried and failed to board the Sacrosanct as it did the Steel Majesty. This is apparently because the vessel is specially modified to prevent external access in order to provide the Far God cultists with a sanctified environment during their pilgrimage. Speaking of the cultists, they may not have accepted their predicament quite as passively as expected. Internal power failures detected within the Sacrosanct's hyperdrive systems may well be a result of sabotage and would explain why it hasn't left the Madrid system. Perhaps in their own way, the Thargoid worshippers are seeking justice for those murdered by Theta 7's appropriation of their deity's holy caustic enzymes. Dredger clan resumes Pilot Federation alert.
Well done.
The
To complete
Scrivener's
the mission,
clan dredger has
access
departed
starboard
from
services from the menu in the center of your dashboard. Then select the mission board from the General Services list on the left of the presented screen. You'll be able to hand in your assigned mission to the Pilot Federation representative here.
Freelance
This will
reporter
formally
Casey
complete the
Kirkpatrick
mission.
provided a report for Vox Galactica. After a coalition of supporters helped them to bypass Orion University's override codes, the Scrivener's clan has finally resumed their nomadic lifestyle. To its credit, the university has finally taken stock of public opinion and agreed not to pursue its ownership claims over the ancient dredger. Many in the scientific community have pointed out that the contents of the knowledge core, around which the Scrivener's entire culture is based, will now remain a mystery. There are rumors that this tribe of academic researchers have acquired data about the Guardians during their decades of wandering, which was perhaps the real prize sought by Orion University. Concerns have also been raised about the Scrivener's chances of survival if they encounter hostile forces. Had the Scientia Eterna megaship been allowed to accompany the dredger, it could have offered protection or at least called for assistance. Now that the Scrivener's clan have resumed a solitary existence, their fate is once again entirely in their hands. Empire celebrates newborn Duval. Pilots Federation alert. A new chapter in the Duval family's history has begun with the birth of Hadrian Augustus Duval's son. The announcement was made by the Imperial Herald. Lady Astrid Minerva Duval, wife of Hadrian Duval, has delivered a baby boy at an undisclosed secure location while under senatorial protection. The child has been named Hector Mordanticus Duval. This is in honor of Hadrian's late father Hector Jansen, who was Emperor Hengist's illegitimate son, as well as Imperator Caeso Mordanticus, who played a major role in both Hadrian and Astrid's lives. Despite Hadrian not being an official member of the Imperial, many citizens are jubilant at the arrival of a new Duval. The Imperial Palace, Princess Aisling Duval and Chancellor Anders Blaine have all sent messages of congratulation. Praetor Leo Magnus, who was Hadrian Duval's head of security, has resigned his temporary commission from ACT to assume leadership of Nova Parisa. The faction has organized an initiative to gather rare commodities for its former leader to celebrate the historic occasion. Pilots are asked to deliver Chateau de Aegean, HR 7221 wheat, Indy bourbon and Yasso Condi leaf to Dyson City in the Parisa system. All shipments will be subject to security scanning before being redirected to a suitable location. Battle of Madrid ends in NMLA defeat. Pilots Federation alert. The Neo-Marlinist Order of Madrid has been defeated by the Epsilon Fornakis Empire Group in the Madrid system. With the aid of many independent pilots, the Imperial faction outmatched the NMLA supporting forces who were attempting to rescue their leader Theta 7. Captain Saskia Landau provided an update from ACT. Using the fierce fighting as cover, Captain Milo Castile led a commando unit made up of specialists from Alliance, Federal and Imperial security forces to gain access to the Steel Majesty. After freeing and arming the crew members that were being held hostage, they overpowered the NMLA troops and retook the megaship. We have successfully prevented Theta 7 and his followers from rejoining their fellow terrorists. But the Far God cult's vessel, the Sacrosanct, is still in the system under his control. Until the man responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths has been captured, our victory over the NMLA remains incomplete. The Epsilon Fornarchus Empire Group stated that those who supported its campaign can now receive their rewards from Payne-Scott City Starport. The Imperial faction also agreed that independent pilots who fought for the Neo-Marlinist Order of Mudrid will be permitted to collect payment from the Steel Majesty, which has been transferred to their ownership. Thargoid invasion of nebula systems intensifies. Pilots Federation alert. Systems in the California, Coalsack, Pleiades and Witch Head nebulas are under sustained assault by the Thargoids. Vox Galactica featured this report from freelance war correspondent Ernesto Rios. Multiple starports have been crippled by Thargoid attacks in recent weeks, with anti-Xeno squadrons struggling to protect them. Many commanders told me that this latest wave is proving unusually difficult to repel, with a steady stream of reinforcements replacing those alien vessels destroyed in battle. In normal times, Aegis would coordinate the defense effort, but its operations remain suspended due to the Bauman inquiry. Today, it is clear that many of the superpowers' leaders have more faith in Salvation after his triumph in the Cornsar system, believing that he holds the key to defeating the Thargoids. Both the Imperial Navy and the Alliance's Council of Admirals have suggested committing naval forces to support Salvation. In the Federation, Congress has debated redirecting funds that will ring-fenced for Aegis to accelerate development of the anti-Xeno superweapon. As yet these are merely discussions, but do illustrate the wide-reaching impact of the Cornsar incident. In the meantime, in the absence of direct support from either Aegis or Salvation, pilots are sacrificing their lives as they fight courageously to push back the Thargoid fleets. Aegis renegades face criminal charges. Admiral Aidan Tanner and the crew of the Musashi megaship will be placed on trial for attacking Salvation's allies. The Admiral disobeyed orders by attempting to gain access to Hindmine Starport, the headquarters of Taurus Mining Ventures. After failing to achieve this, most of the Musashi's crew members were detained and repatriated to their respective home systems to face civil or military charges. The Federal Navy has published this official notice. Admiral Tanner is formally accused of mutiny and unlawful military action while in command of the Musashi. He will stand trial in a general court-martial. If found guilty, he will be dishonorably discharged and imprisoned for life. Dr. Paul Bauman, chair of the Independent Board of Inquiry into Aegis, commented, "Recent events in the T-Tauri system clearly fall within the scope of our investigation. For Aegis's chief military liaison to launch an unauthorized attack, at the cost of many lives, will weigh heavily against the organization." Admiral Tanner claims that the anti-Xeno superweapon deployed by Salvation in the Cornsar system has triggered an increase in Thargoid attacks. Although there is no direct evidence of this, the Thargoids have performed coordinated strikes against several systems in the weeks since that event. Colonia Bridge project extended to 3,308. Pilots Federation alert. The second phase of the Colonia Bridge project is complete, with Brewer Corporation confirming details for Phase 3. An additional 26 megaships have taken up stationary positions in systems between Alcor and Colonia. Along with the existing 30 megaships, these will provide convenient rest, refuel and repair facilities to those traveling to and from the distant Colonia region. A press release from Brewer Corporation addressed the next steps. The galactic community has made enormous contributions to establishing the Colonia Bridge. Encouraged by this, we have revised our plans and increased investment in the project. The next phase is scheduled to commence on the 6th of January 3308 and will add starports to key locations along the route. These will provide further services and opportunities to pilots, as well as forming permanent micro-communities between the core systems and Colonia. Phase 3 will also address the availability of tritium to improve refueling capacity for owners of our Drake-class fleet carriers. To incentivize the delivery of vital materials, we will be offering the same engineered frame shift drives that proved so popular during Phase 2. The Battle of Mudrid. Pilots Federation alert. The Neo-Marlinist Order of Mudrid and the Epsilon Fornarchus Empire Group have declared war in the Mudrid system. The Steel Majesty megaship is serving as the base of the neo-Marlinist forces. These include many surviving NMLA terrorist cells that gathered to overtake the vessel from the Marlinist colonies. Also in the system is the Far God Cult megaship Sacrosanct, where the NMLA's de facto leader Theta 7 and the remnants of Theta Group have been in hiding for months. They recently took control of the vessel and are holding thousands of cultists hostage. The Neo-Marlinist Order of Mudred have offered a uniquely augmented enzyme missile rack to its highest contributors if certain. Delacroix broadcast a call to arms. All those who seek to topple the Duval dictators must fight alongside us here and now. Neo-Marlinism has no future unless its believers defend it. The Epsilon Fornarchus Empire Group is orchestrating its campaign from Payne-Scott City Starport. Senator Denton Patrias has requested that Imperial auxiliaries provide the faction with combat support. ACT's co-leader Captain Saskia Landor stated, "The NMLA clearly places huge value on Theta 7's ability to produce caustic enzyme weapons, and has risked concentrating in large numbers to defend him. If he can transfer to the Steel Majesty and escape, the threat of further atrocities like the 9 Martyrs bombings will remain high." Dredger clan freed from Orion University. Pilots Federation alert. The Scrivener's clan dredger has been fully repaired, following twin initiatives in the HIP-4 3670 system. A campaign by supporters of the Scrivener's clan delivered emergency power cells, power converters and power transfer buses to the Alliance of HIP-4 2371 at Oremus Terminal. A spokesperson for the group announced, "As a result of our efforts, the dredger has received sufficient supplies to effect repairs. Most importantly, the new power systems mean it will shortly be able to bypass Orion University's override codes and be free to travel the galaxy once more." A parallel campaign by Orion University's partner independent HIP-4 3670 Labor requested deliveries of anomalous bulk scan data, unusual encrypted files and unidentified scan archives to Shara Gateway in HIP-4 3670. However, these were not sufficient to convince the nomadic tribe to agree to its offer of sharing future discoveries. Vice-Chancellor Leland Pettigrew expressed his regret, but confirmed that Orion University will honor the outcome and withdraw its claim over the dredger. Contributors to both initiatives can now collect their rewards from Shara Gateway or Oremus Terminal in the HIP-4 3670 system. Gatekeeper megaships established. Factions responsible for the distribution of conditional access permits have deployed so-called gatekeeper megaships to neighboring systems. The agreement between 14 factions intends to allow permit distribution procedures to continue regardless of the political status of the associated systems. Though the reason for system access restrictions varies between the factions, preventing any disruption to interstellar trade was a key factor in the talks. A spokesperson for Alioth Independence, one of the factions involved, offered the following: "It is rare that so many participants from across the core systems are able to reach an agreement so easily. These megaships will ensure that the flow of traffic within our respective borders remains appropriately controlled, providing support for the permit offices in those systems." Only a few short years ago, the system of Tiliana saw disruption in assigning permits to eligible visitors due to political disturbances. The Panjabel system experienced this problem again within recent months. These lessons have inspired us to prevent further repetitions in the future. I would like to thank each faction representative for their contributions to maintaining consistency in our methods for the ease of pilots, recognizing the valuable contributions they make to the galactic economy. Permit distribution to eligible recipients will still be carried out remotely. Far God megaship hijacked by Theta 7. NMLA figurehead Theta 7 has taken control of the Sacrosanct megaship and redirected it to the Mudrid system. Several months ago, the leader of Theta Group and his closest aides evaded capture by posing as members of the Far God cult. One of their pilgrimage vessels, the Sacrosanct, has now bypassed its scheduled flight plan and jumped to Mudrid. ACT's joint leader Captain Milo Castile broadcast an emergency statement. "We can confirm that despite being few in number, The terrorists are in command of the Sacrosanct. Since Far God worshippers are pacifists and fatalistic in nature, it's likely that they offered little resistance. Theta 7 has stated that he will wipe out the vessel's entire population if any attempt to seize the vessel is made. Our intel suggests he possesses caustic enzyme explosives of the type used in the starport bombings, making his threat credible. Also in the system is the Steel Majesty megaship, recently overtaken by the Neo-Marlinist Order of Madrid. ACT believes that the NMLA is regrouping its forces and aims to provide protection for Theta 7. Madrid's ruling faction, the Epsilon Fornarchus Empire Group, has ordered system security to shoot down any vessels attempting to pass between the two megaships. Crime wave raises security concerns. An expert larcenist known as the Winking Cat has triggered widespread alarm with a spree of high-profile thefts. Vox Galactica published this feature by crime correspondent Mira Bukovsky. Last month, the galaxy's most infamous thief reappeared in the headlines after a long absence. It appears the Winking Cat is making up for lost time by stealing multiple items in quick succession. One notable target was a portrait of Emperor Olban Henser de Val, the 10th ruler of the Empire. Painted in 2989, it was notable for being 7 meters high, as was the graphic of a smirking feline face engraved on the wall where it once hung. Another disappearance, albeit of a less artistic nature, was the only working prototype of Achilles Corporation's XS-1001 security robot. This was being guarded by several XS-801 models which, according to insiders, were found lying on their sides and emitting an unusual purring sound. There are reports of several other rare or precious artifacts disappearing from secure locations. In all cases, there are no clues as to how security systems were circumvented. The Wallglass Investigations Agency has theorized that the Winking Cat may not be an individual after all, but a group of criminal specialists working together. They also suspect that these latest thefts may be intended for some larger purpose. Colonia Bridge project faces possible changes. Brewer Corporation is enhancing the travel corridor to Colonia, but details about the project's next phase remain uncertain. Business-related newsfeed the Tau Cetai Journal published this feature. There's no doubt that Brewer Corporation always thinks big. It has enjoyed huge commercial success as a manufacturer of starports and outposts, and its Drake-class fleet carrier has been enormously popular. The Colonia Bridge is the megacorp's most expensive undertaking yet, investing hundreds of billions of credits on the transportation infrastructure between the core systems and Colonia. More than one analyst predicted that the project might financially destabilize them. The first two phases proceeded on schedule. Before the end of this month, there will be a chain of 56 stationary megaships along systems between Alcor and Colonia. But there are rumors of a change of plans for Phase 3, which may be early next year. It is believed that Brewer Corporation is revising its plans based on the unexpectedly high levels of participation from the galactic community. In support of this, one company insider did reveal that more engineered frameshift drives are being manufactured to be offered as incentives to contributing pilots in the third phase. Neo-Marlinist forces gather in Madrid. The megaship Steel Majesty has arrived in the Madrid system after being taken over by NMLA terrorists. Its original-owning faction, the Neo-Marlinist Order of Madrid, has officially reclaimed the vessel. Margrave Corentin Delacroix, the faction's new military ruler and the son of former Landgrave Arrestin Delacroix, announced, "The Steel Majesty has returned home to fulfill its destiny. Be warned, should any ships attempt to board or attack, all the former crew members still on board will be executed." Senior Agent Tanya Ramirez gave a statement on behalf of ACT. "Unfortunately, we cannot take action while hundreds of innocent people remain captive. But the NMLA's effort to assemble troops, supporters and resources must not succeed. Having the Steel Majesty as a mobile base will allow them to regroup for a new campaign of terror, especially if they manage to reach Theta 7 before we do." A spokesperson for the Epsilon Fornarchus Empire Group, which controls the Madrid system, claimed, The hostages should be considered lost as casualties of war. We are prepared to perform our duty for the Empire once again by destroying the neo-Marlinist threat. Dredger Deadlock inspires competing campaigns. Ship release. The HIP 43670 system is hosting 2 competing delivery initiatives, each of which aims to benefit the Scrivener's clan. Orion University has partnered with independent HIP 43670 Labor, which is requesting deliveries of anomalous bulk scan data, unusual encrypted files and unidentified scan archives SHA gateway in HIP 43670. The university's campaign was explained by Vice-Chancellor Leland Pettigrew. Although Dredger J403 is legally our property, what we value most is the Scrivener's clan's dedication to deep space research. To convince them of our noble intentions, we are donating scientific data and samples to their knowledge core. Our proposal is that they permit us to accompany them on their journey and share in any future discoveries. An alternative campaign is also taking place in the HIP 43670 system. Supporters of the Scrivener's clan are being asked to gather emergency power cells, power converters and power transfer buses and deliver them to the Alliance of HIP 42371 at Oramus Terminal. A spokesperson told the media, "These supplies are needed to perform vital repairs to the dredger. Furthermore, if the power systems are sufficiently updated, they can bypass the ancient components affected by Orion University's override codes and continue traveling independently." Although there remains no response from the Scrivener's clan, the dredger is now actively monitoring all local and interstellar transmissions. This is a new development for the isolated community and suggests that speed restrictions are now lifted. Flight control signing off. Are aware of these campaigns. Salvation's allies triumph in T-Tauri system. Pilots Federation alert. Taurus Mining Ventures has defeated a rogue Aegis defense force and gained control of the megaship Musashi. The conflict was initiated by Admiral Aidan Tanner, Chief Military Liaison with Aegis. He was attempting to gain access to Hindmine asteroid base in search of evidence that Salvation's anti-Xeno weapon was deliberately designed to provoke the Thargoids. Patience Middleton, a spokesperson for Taurus Mining Ventures, made this announcement. This was an illegal and unnecessary conflict brought about by Admiral Tanner's misguided obsession. We will continue working with Salvation to eliminate the Thargoid threat. Our defense was only possible thanks to our courageous supporters, for whom rewards are available at Hindmine. We will also honor agreements that the Aegis Defense Force made with independent pilots, who cannot comply. Collect their promised payments from the Musashi. Taurus Mining Ventures later confirmed that all members of the Musashi's original crew will be allowed to leave the megaship unharmed. Admiral Tanner and other key personnel are in temporary custody. Aegis has arranged for to its internal security teams. NMLA retakes the Steel Majesty. A former Neo-Marlinist megaship has been overrun by NMLA terrorists in the Hyades Sector ROPV-62 system. The Steel Majesty was originally owned by the Neo-Marlinist Order of Madrid, one of the NMLA's key allies. After their defeat, it ferried many of them to the Marlinist colonies where they were granted asylum by Minister Aaron White. His faction then the megaship during the Civil War in August. Minister John Christophe Leon, the current leader of the Marxism Reformation Party, gave a statement. Despite our efforts to arrest any remaining extremists within our faction, a surviving group has gained access to the megaship. Security feeds show they were joined by several teams of well-armed NMLA fighters. The Marxist constabulary evacuated around half of the Steel Majesty's crew before the NMLA took operational control. Sadly, there is no way to free those still trapped on board. The situation was addressed by ACT's co-leader Captain Milo Castillo. According to our intel, a majority of the NMLA's surviving cells have gathered together for this operation. We believe they were assisted by not only Aaron White's loyalists, but also members of the megaship's original crew from the Madrid system. It is possible that this neo-Marxist coalition was formed as a result of us closing in on Theta 7.
Friendship drive charging.
We have requested additional support from all security services. Theta 7 traced to Punjab system. Pilots Federation alert. A decrypted message.
3, 2, 1.
Suggests that the NMLA leader Theta 7 avoided capture by infiltrating the Far God cult. ACT publicly requested help to decode a message received by Theta Group, the bomb-making engineers of the NMLA. The cipher key was cracked and the decoded message submitted by Commander Therian Signy. It revealed that Theta 7 and his closest the Punjab system on the 31st of July. Captain Milo Castillo, one of ACT's co-leaders, provided an update. Our theory is that Theta 7 and his crew were traveling undercover as Far God worshippers who were gathering in the Punjab system in huge numbers at that time. Since all members of this religious order renounced their past identities, this would have helped the terrorists to avoid detection. The Pleiades Concordat and other factions in Punjab are cooperating with our investigation. But it seems likely that Theta 7 is currently hiding aboard one of the 3 Far God megaships that were launched from the system on the 6th of August. ACT agents have attempted to contact the Perdition, Sacrosanct and Testament megaships to alert them of the danger. Unfortunately, the cultists consider themselves to be on a sacred
Friendship drive charging.
pilgrimage that cannot be impeded, and that their vessels are sanctuaries from further persecution by hostile security services. Dredger clan faces possible extinction. Orion University has been informed that its ownership claim of the Scrivener's clan dredger is placing its
3, 2, 1. Engage. Warning. Taking
at great risk.
Warning. Hull breach attack. Taking internal damage.
Just PCC CT90 system. The university's megaship Scientia Eterna has used override codes to prevent the dredger from departing. But the nomadic tribe's refusal to abandon their home has placed them under great pressure, as observed by freelance reporter Casey Kilpatrick. Dredger-class bulk cruisers are the sharks of space. They must always keep moving, constantly gathering raw materials to synthesize into fuel, air and other resources. The Scrivener's clan remained stationary for months while salvaging the Hesperus, but in this system they are trapped without such vital intakes. Independent observers are now reporting malfunctions in the vessel's power and life support systems. If the Scriveners maintain their siege mentality, further mechanical failures are inevitable. Orion might inherit the dredger after all, but it will be the ship of the dead. Professor Elizabeth Perez, Orion University's head of anthropology, responded, "The last thing we wish is for any harm to befall these people. My colleagues are urgently discussing ways to convince the Scrivener's clan that we have their best interests at heart. After all, as fellow scientists and researchers, they are a living embodiment of our university's core values." Manhunt for Theta 7 escalates. Pilots Federation alert. The affiliated counter-terrorism unit has acquired an encrypted message that may reveal Theta 7's location. ACT successfully captured most of the bomb-making engineers known as Theta Group and has now prioritized hunting down the NMLA's de facto leader. This latest breakthrough was explained by Captain Milo Castile. Theta Group managed to delete most of their data prior to capture, but we retrieved a short message that they received on the 31st of July. At this point, most of Theta Group were being harbored by neo-Marlinist sympathizers within the Marlinist